How many times have you thought about installing a water maker on board your boat, but you always thought it would be a massive undertaking or just way too expensive? Well, in this video, I'll show you how a reverse osmosis water maker works and how to install it. A water maker isn't just a great upgrade for your boat, it's actually essential in the life of a sailor, when their only limit should be the horizon. So why have to go into port for water when you're in a beautiful bay? Or even better, you can skip all the stops on your route planned just to fill up the tanks. And your sailing will be much freer to explore even the most remote places on the planet, knowing your water supply comes directly from the sea. Urania uses the principle of reverse osmosis for its water makers. Thanks to the membranes inside the vessels, salt is separated from the seawater, making it drinkable. The water maker comes with an installation manual for the technician who will install it and a user manual for the end user. Installation must be performed by a qualified technician who can certify and test the system once the installation is complete. Using the manual is very simple, as there are two different color-coded paths, to avoid confusing the assembly of the different models. The water maker can be supplied either on a pre-assembled frame or in separate parts. This is to solve the space problem on boats with limited locker space. It's essential to install the water maker's electrical components in a dry and well-ventilated place. Today we'll install the Urania Marine water maker together, the Inverter ES series 70 liters per hour. As the name suggests, it can produce about 70 liters of water per hour and consumes about 1,000 watts per hour. The noise stays in the 60 decibel range without soundproofing, and the total weight of the system is 50 to 60 kilograms. This water maker model is particularly well suited for boats with a generator or a large battery bank, as it runs through an inverter. The seacock through which the water will flow for the water maker is best if it's the model with a scoop facing forward, as this will prevent the water maker from creating a vacuum while sailing. The pre-filter group, which, as the name implies, filters out impurities from the seawater. An 80-micron filter and a 5-micron filter. The high-pressure pump with anti-vibration mounts. The vessels, which are nothing more than the containers for the reverse osmosis membrane. The water maker's control panel, which can be placed according to the space requirements on the boat. The S series also features a wireless control system via a touchscreen display. The electrical panel contains the switches and the multi-display to monitor wattage, kilowatt hours, volts, hertz, and amps. The connection cable for the high-pressure pump and the inverter also starts from here. In our specific case, an inverter that must be connected to the batteries as described in the installation manual. This component should be installed in a cool place if possible, as it generates a lot of heat when in operation. By opening the seacock valve, salt water reaches the filters where dirt, algae, and other impurities are stopped. From here, the water is sucked in by the high-pressure pump, which feeds it into the vessel circuit. The vessels contain the osmotic membrane that works the magic. This membrane traps the salts dissolved in the water, but not only that, it also removes bacteria, germs, and all organic substances. Both the brine to be discharged and the pure water reach the hydraulic control panel. And while one is eliminated, the pure water is channeled into the tank, or to a free outlet. And that's the simple operation of the water maker. Now let's move on to the actual installation. I'll remind you that every boat is different. Before you start installing the water maker, make sure you've checked all the spaces where the elements will go and created a plan. First of all, choose a convenient location to install the hydraulic control panel. Check that the seacock is closed. Run the spiral hose from the seacock to the inlet of the filter group. The filters can be secured with the appropriate bracket. From the outlet on the opposite side, Run another piece of spiral hose to the high-pressure pump previously installed and secured in a suitable location. Remember to secure everything with the provided zip ties. Remember that before turning on the pump, you'll need to replace the red cap with the provided oil cap. Once the inlet hose is secured, you'll need to connect the high-pressure hose that goes to the first vessel to the pump. The vessels must be arranged exactly as described in the installation manual. In this case, we'll need to connect the high-pressure hose to the first vessel. Connect the second high-pressure hose to the outlet of the first vessel and the inlet of the second to create a bridge. Finally, we connect the high-pressure hose that goes from the outlet of the second vessel to the control panel. Always use gloves, as the preservative liquid in the membranes is an irritant. Now, let's take care of creating the drain for the solution. Salt water. The overboard discharge must be made along the hull side with a through-hole fitting and not below the waterline. Now let's go back to the vessels, and unlike the high-pressure hoses from the freshwater outlet of the first vessel and the freshwater outlet of the second vessel, we connect two braided hoses, which in turn will be connected to the T-fitting. From the top of the T-fitting, we'll connect another braided hose that will go to the freshwater inlet on the hydraulic control panel. At the top right of the hydraulic panel, you'll see two outlets and a lever, a selection lever. A braided hose will be connected to the left outlet, which will go to the tank. A braided hose will be connected to the right outlet, which will be the free outlet. The hydraulic part is finished. Let's move on to the electrical part of the system. Looking at the wiring that'll connect the inverter to the batteries, you'll notice a 150 amp fuse on the positive line and a switch to disconnect the batteries. To effectively connect the cables to the inverter, we'll need to remove the protective cover to tighten the nuts and lock nuts. After measuring the positive and negative cables based on where we want to install the inverter, let's place it, as mentioned, in a dry and well-ventilated spot. In this case, we can also install the small control panel to be able to turn it on and off remotely. Now let's move on to the installation of the electrical control panel. It should be installed near the hydraulic control panel if possible to keep an eye on the readings on the multi-display. The panel consists of a socket and a plug. The plug goes into the inverter and the socket is connected to the high-pressure pump. Once the system is set up, we'll need to test it. The self-priming pump is initially empty, so you'll first need to open the seacock and fill the filters. If water doesn't reach the filters, just press the bleed button on the top. If water still doesn't arrive, then use the system flush inlet by connecting it to a water hose and open it. Remember to move the selection lever to the upper inlet. Now make sure that the pressure valve is completely open. That is, turn it counterclockwise until it stops. Move the filter selection lever back from flushing to the seawater inlet. Turn on the main switch and test it. Then turn on the high-pressure pump switch. At this point, the pump should turn on, and water should flow freely to the discharge, passing through the saltwater flow meter, which should show a reading of about 6 liters per minute. After removing all the air bubbles from the system, it's time to pressurize the Watermaker. By adjusting the pressure valve, bring the gauge up to 50 bar. At this point, the freshwater flow meter on the right should settle around 1 liter. Be careful never to exceed 55 bars of pressure, or you'll risk damaging the osmotic membranes. The TDS is an inline meter for total dissolved solids in the water. It's used to monitor the water quality entering and leaving osmosis systems and other equipment requiring water quality control. And reverse osmosis desalination systems, it evaluates the quality of the water produced and filter efficiency, also indicating when they need replacing. And there you go, your independence from the water grid has just begun. In the next video, we'll tell you how to best use and maintain your Watermaker. As we've seen, it's not that complicated. Installing a Watermaker doesn't take much space, especially considering the benefits. Remember, on the Hinelson website, you can find the full range of Urania Watermakers for every need. Hinelson is the largest marine community in Italy, so I'm curious to hear about your experience or any doubts and questions in the comments below. See you at the, and as always, fair winds, not too little, not too much, but just right.